Hey everyone, today I wanted to go over some new and exciting news regarding the PlayStation and Xbox's upcoming release for base Monster Hunter Rise. Just yesterday I put up a video discussing the cross-play situation happening with the Xbox Series S, Series X, Xbox One, and PC Windows side of things, where I basically made a video discussing all of the newly found details thanks to the Xbox blog providing a brand new set of information and a little bit of an outline as to what it is you should be expecting for base Monster Hunter Rise on Xbox. And just recently, soon after that, the official Monster Hunter Twitter account, it's almost like they took notice of that, and then they decided to put up a little bit of a clarification post themselves, providing us details regarding crossplay, cross saves, resolution, and frame rates, as well as a couple of other things for pretty much not just the upcoming release of Xbox and PlayStation and Windows side of things for base Rise, but also the clarification that pretty much the Nintendo Switch version and the PC Steam version of the game are pretty much shit out of luck. Those two versions are not getting anything. They're not getting any sort of crossplay, cross-save support. We already kind of knew that, but it's just getting that official kind of like direct, indirect confirmation that just kind of makes it sting a little bit. So their original post simply reads that excited for the launch of base Monster Hunter Rise on Xbox Series X, S, Xbox One, Windows, Game Pass, PlayStation 5, and PlayStation 4, ? Read on below for some helpful information ahead of the release on January 20th. Remember that it is dropping on Game Pass day one. That is one of the things that they provided us in the details confirmation through the Xbox Game Pass blog update that we covered yesterday. So pretty much this covers the fact that they asked 3 separate questions for clarification's sakes. The first one says, do I need to buy the PlayStation 5 version after purchasing the PlayStation 4 version? The response is that the PS4 and PS5 versions are bundled. There is no need to purchase the software again if you wish to play the game on both consoles. This is something that I made a very clear clarification on when I found out myself. This was about a month ago, when Capcom provided me a review code for the PlayStation 5 build of the game, and I found out that I pretty much had access to both direct the PS4 download and a PS5 download. You can of course choose to boot up whichever one you want. You can boot up the PS4 download on the PS5, and of course the PS5 version also boots up on the PS5 logically, but you cannot boot up the PS5 version on the PS4 for obvious reasons. There's different settings and toggleables are kind of enabled in one version and another. So that is the case there. When it comes to Xbox, however, there's just one version. There's just one universal version. There's none of that. The system kind of like on its own sorts out the whole resolution, which version you're booting up and all of that. So you don't have to worry about that on the Xbox side of things, especially if you're going to be playing the Game Pass version. It's just going to be clearly be labeled like Game Pass version. The second question that they ask is that, can I transfer save data? And the response is very clear. There's a very clear distinction here that I want to make. They say that you can transfer the save data from PS4 to PS5. That is directly saying that only from PS4 to PS5 you can upgrade. You cannot, I guess, downgrade from PS5 to PS4. So if you have the PS4 version and eventually decide to buy a PS5, let's say a year or two from now or a few years from now, whenever they finally become properly available in pretty much all stores, you can eventually upgrade your PS4 save data to the PS5. Since you already own both versions of the game, they're cross-bundled, you don't necessarily need to worry about that, but your cross-save data will not be downgraded from PS5 to PS4 if you happen to, just get rid of your PS5 and go back to a PS4. That is not how it's going to work. The reason we know that is based on the wording, because the next sentence is structured differently. It says that for Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, and Windows versions, you can share save data. Cross-saves and save data transfers other than listed above are not supported. So when they say share save data, means you can go back and forth to whatever version. It doesn't necessarily matter. Xbox One, you can upgrade to Series X and eventually through Series X and maybe even to the Windows version, which remember, you do, and this is something that I mentioned yesterday, you do need the Xbox app to be able to have access to the PC side of things if you want to play the Xbox One, Series S, Series X versions, which is where crossplay comes into play. So technically there is crossplay on Windows if you want to play the PC version of the game, but you're gonna need that Xbox, boot up icon, whatever, launcher, if you will. But you can also do the same thing if you play the Windows version first, then downgrade to the Xbox Series X, Series X, and Xbox One, because you can share your save data. It's not necessarily a direct upgrade from PS4 to PS5. Then, of course, they make it very clear that cross saves and cross save data transfers, other than those listed above, are not supported, which means pretty much what I opened the video with. Nintendo Switch PC Steam side of things, nothing. You get basically screwed out. And this is something that I noticed a lot in the comments for this specific post. I'm going to be leaving a link in the description below for that, where a lot of people were just kind of tired of this entire situation because they're upset that Capcom is not necessarily giving us something that we are just desperately asking for. Nintendo Switch players simply did not know. And this is the honest truth, because even people who looked into the leaks like myself and covered the leaks like myself, we didn't necessarily know there was ever going to be a PlayStation and Xbox version of this game. We knew 2 days before the official information came out, and that's when I made a video about it. And then Capcom 2 days later went ahead and posted it officially with that short little trailer that you probably saw at the top of the video. So we didn't necessarily know any of that. Like, even people who were looking into the leaks, no builds of PlayStation, no builds for Xbox, no coded, no information ever appeared out of any of that. So it's not like we knew. It's not like when base Monster Hunter Rise launched on Nintendo Switch and we knew that a year later there would be a PC build, because of course that was part of the Capcom leak. So we expected that. But this time around, it's a little bit different. And a lot of people just want a direct upload or a transfer save. Maybe even if it just happens once, which is what a lot of people have been asking for. Let me bring my Nintendo Switch character over to PlayStation, over to Xbox, over to PC Steam, over to PC Windows, whichever version you want. Just let me transfer out of Switch, and that's not going to be possible. And people are pretty upset about that, and for rightful reasons. You know, I love my Switch. It's a great system, but it cannot compete with PS5 and Series X. That is just the truth. You know, regardless of whether you're a fanboy or not, that's just the reality of the situation. And for my personal experience, which is the version that I have been playing, the PlayStation 5 build runs well, just amazingly well. So there's no reason why I would ever want to play the Switch version again, except of course Sunbreak is there, all the new content is there. I'm gonna have to keep covering that. But if I had a choice and there was like day and date and Sunbreak is launching on PS5 or Series X for Game Pass, I'm just gonna play that version instead day one. Instead, I'm gonna have to wait for Sunbreak to eventually launch on those two consoles. Now, the last question that they ask, and this is probably another clarification that definitely needed, because some of the details here we did not have access to before. They ask, what are the resolutions can I play? You can play at the following resolutions at a minimum. Xbox One, Xbox One S, and PlayStation 4 will be running at 1920 by 1080, so 1080p. The one thing that they don't necessarily clarify there is that you will be running at 60 frames per second. Technically, because again, this is like, there's going to be a day one patch for like all these versions of the game. Like right now, the review period, like it's just going to get another patch. So maybe that's going to improve performance. I can't necessarily like confirm that or not. We're going to, of course, see performance numbers go down the road once the game launches on the 20th. But what I can tell you is that I've seen some drops on PS4. I've not seen the Xbox One S or Series S builds as of yet, so I can't speak to any of that. But on PS4, I have seen some drops. They're not egregious, you know, but I've seen them. So, you know, I can't speak to that. Xbox Series S, 2560 by 1440, so 1440p. Now, this version is also going to be locked at 60 frames per second. What I don't necessarily know, I cannot confirm that right now because, again, I haven't seen this specific build of the game. I don't have a Series S, otherwise I would have seen it by now, is that will this version have 1080p 120 FPS mode enabled? And I don't necessarily know the answer to that. Now, we'll also clarify 120 FPS 1080p mode. It's not really 120 FPS. This is something that I'm going to cover deeply in my review. Basically, it's hard for that game to hit 120, even on a Series X, even on PS5. That is just the reality of the situation. But my review comes up on the 17th, so I'm going to be talking about that at a greater length. When it comes to the Series X, they mentioned that Xbox Series X, Xbox One X, PS5, and PS4 Pro will be running at 3840 by 2160, so that's locked 4K. That is probably true on Series X and PlayStation 5. I am going to assume that there is some type of dynamic resolution on PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, because those versions are going to have to run 4K 60 locked, and I just don't necessarily see that happening on PS4 Pro or Xbox One X, which we didn't even consider if that version will also have 120 FPS 1080p mode unlocked. Probably it could, you know, because the Xbox One X is definitely more powerful than the PS4 Pro, but I certainly haven't seen it run there, so I can't speak to that. All the variables for these consoles, it gets really weird, so I can't necessarily speak to any of that as of right now, but we're gonna have to wait and see. I didn't even think about the PS4 Pro build of that version of the game, since a lot of people have just a base PS4 Slim, like one of the newer builds. So that version is gonna run allegedly 4K 60, but most likely with some sort of dynamic resolution. And lastly, they of course mentioned that the Windows version, the resolution can be set depending on the PC specifications. So the Windows build is pretty much the same on Steam, the same options you have on Steam, the same ones you can have on Windows. You can go pretty much 4K 144, 260, whatever you can cap it out at, you can probably do that. I think there are some mods for the Steam version to do up to 8K. Of course, that really depends on just, are you running like a 490 Ti or something? Maybe, you know, double length or whatever. I can't speak to that. It obviously depends on what kind of computer you have, but most likely, you know, obviously you can cap it out, no problem there. It's all really going to be depending on your specs on your computer. Now, they do specifically mention, and I do find it very funny, they put an asterisk on the bottom where they mention that frame rates are variable depending on the gameplay situations. Depending on the performance of the hardware or your preferences, you can adjust the frame rate through priority and image quality priority. So frame rate priority is the 120 FPS, allegedly 1080p build. In my review, I'm going to go over all the details for that, again, up on the 17th. And image quality mode is 4K 60. So, but that toggleable is only available, as far as I know, on Xbox Series X, PC, Windows, and PlayStation 5. That toggleable, I'm not sure if it's going to be available on Xbox One X or PlayStation 4 Pro. Certainly, I wouldn't expect it to be available on Series S, Xbox One X, Xbox One S, sorry, or PlayStation 4. So I wouldn't necessarily expect that toggleable to be there, of course, for obvious reasons. So that's pretty much all the clarifications that I wanted to go over. A lot of people were asking me questions regarding crossplay, cross saves, cross performance, all of that. Once again, even though I thought I put out a pretty good video yesterday kind of explaining all of that, again, Capcom took it upon themselves to kind of like clarify this even further and pretty much confirm that Nintendo Switch and PC Steam players, which this is the thing that really gets to me, the fact that PC Steam players and PC Windows players cannot even cross play, forget cross saves. They cannot even cross play with each other. So two PC builds, the same build, only one's on Windows, the other one's on Steam. Those people cannot play with each other. That is just baffling to me. It makes no sense whatsoever, but I feel like I've talked about this enough so people kind of understand where it is that I'm at with all of this. If you're brand new to my channel though, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya!